So, Nick, the reason I invited you to join us and to talk to our dealers today is because we had one of those conversations at the NAB show where I looked around and I wish that every one of our dealers could have been right behind me listening to this conversation. We talked about a great path going forward with Epiphan and some really cool stuff that you're doing to help the dealer channel be successful and to help let them buy in to this entire Epiphan ecosystem. Before we get into the specific programs, Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the Epiphan ecosystem is?
Yeah, so it starts with kind of our top line vision, right? Which is broadcast without barriers. We have this idea that anyone should be able to share their story with the world and should be unencumbered by the barriers of technology and accessibility and all these things. And so that applies in so many places in this video first world that we're starting to create. And ultimately, the way we create those experiences for people is that we turn every space into a studio with our Epiphan Pearl lineup that you see here. These are, the Pearl Mini is a perfect example of an all-in-one device that can plug into any professional AV gear that exists or stand alone as its own device and ultimately record and stream out to the world. Our portfolio then takes those videos and converts it into an experience. So we help build experiences for house of worship, government, local, universities, you name it. And ultimately what we do is we deliver virtual on-site and hybrid events, and we allow you to capture, enhance, stream, and record pro AV audio and video. And we're just seeing a huge explosion in the space right now. We've won a ton of awards over the last year. It's been a lot of fun watching this start to really explode out. And one of the things that we realized was that our channel was really important to this growth and this opportunity to go deliver on all the opportunities that exist out there.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'm excited about is we're really making that shift in the industry where we're going from selling products to selling solutions. And selling solutions is really what our dealers do best. And even in the introduction, you use the word we quite often. And I think that's one of the biggest messages I want to get across today is that there is a we, and that Epiphan is working really hard to empower the dealer channel to be successful with this approach.
Yeah, I think, look, at the end of the day, this stuff is really simple. We all work together, and Epiphan is not a complete solution in and of itself. Right. We understand that. We understand that fundamentally the value we add is this critical intersection of the control systems in the room, if they exist or don't exist, the cameras and video feeds, the audio, and then we can handle both the recording and outbound streaming, no matter where it's going. So we see ourselves at the hub of a very important spoke and wheel here, but we also realize that in order to deliver on that promise, to deliver on that vision, we have to leverage the local relationships of the Broadfield dealers. We have to leverage that local technical knowledge, and honestly enforce that confidence that you can take this, very simple product line from Epiphan and really introduce it to a number of customers and have a really profound conversation around what is your video strategy for your church, your community center, your local Zumba, instructor. Yep. No joke. One of my old colleagues up in the Northeast up there, his wife is a Zumba instructor, and she found and discovered streaming on her own before I even joined Epiphan. And it was just fascinating to me as I was going through the process of joining Epiphan to say, there really is an explosion happening out there. And there's this tremendous opportunity for these great value add resellers that, that work with Broadfield and work with Epiphan every day.
And I'm sure you've taken up a few Zumba classes yourself, right, Nick?
You should see me in a leotard, brother. It is incredible. So cheers to that. Now I got that visual in my head.
You and everyone else. One of the great things in what you talked about is we're actually building programs to help with some of this outreach and to help with some of our dealers being empowered to be your partners and to go out there and get those wins. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the new dealer registration program?
Yeah, so this is really about kind of one of the things I've seen over the years, and I've had the great fortune of working with channel in probably 4 different industries. And one of the things that I see is that there's this pattern where the people that are really doing the hard work, that are creating the relationship with the customer, that are engaging early, that are doing the solutions engineering, that are helping them solve their problems, oftentimes when it gets to bid, they lose all their value in that last step in the process. Right. So it's a simple solution. We allow you to register those projects as soon as you know about them. You register the project. If nobody else registers it within 72 hours, we're going to give you an additional 10% protection on that project.
Yep.
project. So now all of a sudden you're in a position where you're being valued by your manufacturing partner for early engagement. And what do we know as Epiphan? When Epiphan's engaged early, we always win. And I don't want to say always because there's certainly those cases, but we really do have a great track record, and we have the team to help backstop and support your dealers. And that's where the we comes in.
Right.
It's not just about the incentive. It's also about knowing, we're here to help you get that across the line. We're here to help you take that 5 unit opportunity, that 5 room solution, and expand it to 300 different lecture rooms in the case of a higher ed customer. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this really big explosion in the way that we think of video, because one of the things Epiphan does for its customers that nobody else really does is we make it easy for you to do video in a lot of spaces simultaneously. And so that's a big opportunity for folks, and we want to make sure that that opportunity gets rewarded.
Absolutely.
And we want to share that reward with the person that's done the hard work. It's pretty
Yeah,
simple.
absolutely. And I think our dealers like the dealer registration programs like this because it does allow
Mm-hmm.
them to bring your product champions into that conversation. If they're working with
Right.
a school on a large campus installation, the school likes knowing that not only do they have the support of the integrator and their dealer, but they have support of the vendor, the people that are actually manufacturing the products, that they have the guidance and they have all these different people in on the conversation, helping to spec out that perfect system.
Amen. And an example of the school, by the way, they might not realize that they can do video on a large scale. They might be thinking really small to
Right.
start. I was just on with a regional university down in St. Louis, significant size, but they're basically looking at 4 rooms. They're thinking, how do I get going 4 rooms? What I know is once they see the ease of the 4 rooms, they'll quickly start to think about what it looks like at 300 rooms. Because the difference in managing 4 rooms versus 300 really isn't that different when you're using Epiphan. And that's just a huge impact. And you think about the live event size of the higher ed market. You think about the Pearl Nano, the world's smartest edge encoder, right, for streaming and recording. What makes it smart, by the way? You leave your smart people at home,
Right.
right? It's all cloud managed. And so you can just send out these devices across campus, plug it into whatever camera or audio feeds available, bring that back to your production center with your students and be able to put it out to the world. And those types of solutions really do have a big impact, and they all become beachheads to broader discussions. So this is the entire idea of confidently share with us the information about who you're working with. We give you protection on it. We work together to go, land and expand, as I like to say, and really, really go drive some significant revenue over the next few years for all of us.
Absolutely. And I think that's where our dealers have been successful too, is that they will look at the
Yeah.
opportunities in a school workflow and get a system installed into a classroom. That classroom leads to a department. That department leads to the entire
Right.
building. That building leads to multiple campuses all across the country. And we see the same thing happen in the corporate AV workflow, in houses of
Yep.
worship, in government installations. And even in a community setting, we will see one community set up a community center, and then all of a sudden, every other community area is saying, "Well, how did they do that? I think we can do it
Yeah,
too." And
exactly.
I think there are a
The
lot
thing
of
I love that you're
opportunities
saying
there.
there, well, and the thing I love that you're saying, Jim, is reference selling,
Yep.
right? And so this is a really nice way because again, there are a lot of 1 unit Pearl mini sales all around a town. When you drive around town, you look at every single church in town, you look at your community centers, you look at these small businesses that are trying to represent themselves to the world through video. Those are all opportunities to start to put in these devices and help them understand that you can create a better video experience. You can tie together more professional audio and video, and it's not going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, you probably do this for less than 10K and get an incredible solution out the other side of it. And when you go to 25K, you're going to be competing with the big boys on how you're doing this type of content. And that is such a fun conversation to have with small business owners. And the cool part is this: once you have a referenced customer in that market, it all becomes much easier because
Yep.
Pastor Bob, don't take my word for it. Pastor Jim down the road put it in, and you can go see what they're doing out of their space.
Yes.
And what we see is this pattern of when dealers have this very kind of video first mentality with Epiphan in their tool chest, and they go out and start to look at how do I go establish one customer and then repeat with the other ones. That's real opportunity to drive revenue right now. And in some markets, revenue is tough with what's going on in the economy. I think that's a big opportunity for
I
everybody.
agree. I think there is a lot of opportunity out there, and it's knowing where to hunt and where to find those opportunities. And one great place to
Yeah.
start is you guys do a great job of publishing a lot of these case studies on your website. So I can go to epiphan.com. I can find the case study for the universities, for the government centers, for these community rooms, libraries, and I can take all that and share that with my potential customers and help build the sale, deal reg, take advantage of the program, bring Broadfield into the conversation, bring Epiphan into the conversation, and we can all work together to help you maximize that opportunity. And there are a lot of different messages that Epiphan is reaching out to end users with to help kind of reinforce this message of both a hardware and cloud environment that is all being offered with your solutions. The first of which is broadcast without barriers. Nick, tell us what that means.
Well, I think I started, that's everybody being able to share their message with the world. Let's make it accessible for people. Let's make it easy. And let's let them understand that we all have to reset our brain, by the way. The broadcast industry has told us that it's expensive and hard to do this. So everybody's biased that, I can't accomplish that. So what do? They use consumer tools and they fumble through it. And the truth is that Epiphan unlocks an entire new category of video, and it's a video first content strategy that I think is really impactful. And what it does is it allows that customer, and this is critical, allows, the case of customers that are trying to communicate with constituents, it allows them to do it without any fuss. One button touch, things go, whether that's a church or community center, a local, city council. They just push the button, it records, and it streams out to the YouTube. Perfect. Okay. Then on the cases of these other solutions, it allows you to also create these experiences for town halls, for differentiated video. And that's really important because if you think about all these realtors, all these gyms, all these different organizations in these local markets, they're competing with viewership. And so how do you win to compete for viewership? Well, we all are consumers of video. Which videos do we watch?
Right.
We watch the videos that are nicer. Yep. We watch the videos that are branded. We watch the videos that curate the view so it's actually impactful to us. And all of that can be done in a $4,000 device like a Pearl Mini. That's incredibly powerful to these companies and to these small businesses. And so I just think we got to go out there and tell the story and unlock that potential. And I think your dealers will be really excited about how many opportunities it starts to unlock.
Absolutely. And every once in a while, I'll turn over the reins of the Thursday show to Gary to give a high-level message to all of our dealers. One webinar that Gary did recently was talking about the opportunities in the corporate AV world. And in the corporate world, there are a lot of offices now that are finding themselves with empty offices throughout their building, places that are perfectly primed to be turned into a studio. And one of the taglines and one of the messages that you and I talk about is that with Epiphan, every space can be turned into a studio. The fact that you could turn every space in the studio really plays into not just education, but that corporate world that Gary was alluding to also.
Which I love. So, this is one of our core pillars around the corporate space. And here's what it looks like. It's a Pearl 2 tied into professional cameras with a stage. By the way, we've seen the economics of this repeatedly. We have all kinds of examples of customers reaching out to us and saying, Nick, on a monthly basis, my CEO wants to do a town hall. And today I spend $10,000 a month to bring in a production crew. And what it's doing is limiting the amount of communications our executives are making with our teams. We'd like to not only, refine that, get that price down, but we'd also like to expand the amount of communications our CEO is doing. And what it is very obvious. It's go carve out a little studio, a little corporate studio, right? So Pearl 2 at the heart of that corporate studio, tied into a lot of the great technology Broadfield provides. All of a sudden, you start to carve out this space. Now, the other common thing, and we'll go to the cloud tools you mentioned earlier, you also then take any Teams room or Zoom room they've had, which becomes kind of a contribution studio or a miniature studio. And what's that mean? Well, a studio relies on good audio, good video, and good internet. And Epiphan Connect allows you to extract the video from that Teams room or that Zoom room and bring it directly into your Pearl 2 in the production without ever having to type in an IP address. You can just select it from an input in our cloud tools. And now all of a sudden you go to this corporate customer and you say, I got a value prop for you. For 25 to 50 grand, I can build you a studio centered on this great technology from Epiphan that's managed in the cloud to be run from anywhere. And I can then offer you this pay-as-you-go service that you can resell as a dealer, by the way, pay-as-you-go service that makes every one of those Teams and Zoom rooms you've installed over the last 5 years into contribution studios. So you could do your corporate comms where your corporate comms folks are located, and you can have remote contributors from any one of those Teams or Zoom rooms that are out there. And this just puts everybody's kind of mind at ease. All of a sudden they go, wait a second, this is approachable. This is something that we can go do. So I think Gary's spot on, and there's a thirst for that out there. I'll tell you that people think it's complicated. They're not sure who's going to own it. They're scared. They don't have somebody on their team. Well, I don't have a producer. You don't need a producer. I mean, if Nick Milani's capable of setting up an Epiphan, Pearl Mini and running a broadcast for my wife, then anybody is. Let me tell you that right now. It's all approachable.
And Nick, I'll say that we're drinking the Kool-Aid today. We have you coming into our studio using Epiphan Connect over Teams.
Yep.
We use it in our studio regularly. We've used it to host large virtual events like NDI November. And any of our dealers who are interested in what this cloud tool can offer, we can bring you into the studio. We could do a demo with you. I'll introduce you to James and Adam on my team who absolutely love the tool. It has really allowed them to have confidence now in Teams and now with your new announcement in Zoom of being able to bring in a guest from a remote location, even on vacation in Michigan, and bring them in absolutely perfectly.
By the way, I mean, that's the future, though. That is that kind of, without barriers concept. We live it, and I think that's one of the things, Jim, I just, for your viewers, if you haven't had a chance to meet Epiphan, I'm going to be at InfoComm in Orlando in a few weeks. I know the Broadfield team's going to be down there. Stop by and say hi.
Yes.
Like, we're real people that we're out there living it every day. And I'll tell you what we're doing for those folks that are listening in. We're now taking it a step further. We're driving interactive events. And this is a term that we're starting to build some equity behind. And for a future show, we'll talk about it. But what it means is that as people are participating in our live launches, so we're going to do 2 events from InfoComm. We'll do one with Panopto, talking about higher education, and we'll do with Zoom, talking about the future of kind of Zoom-based events. And teaser alert, that's going to talk about interactivity. And interactivity is this dynamic of allowing people that are participating via the web to kind of do that Price is Right effect, as I like to say, which is the come on up, Bob Barker inviting you on stage. It's like call-in radio in the past. You could call in to your favorite sports talk and you had a chance to make a point. We can now do that with live interactive video with just Zoom or Teams as the back end. And it's super easy to do from a production standpoint. But as we, continue to evolve our tools and make it easy on you, we want to show your customers how, maybe it's somebody that's at home for a local church service that can't participate, that wants to participate virtually. We can do that using these really commonly accessible tools because, as somebody joked during one of our events, even our grandparents know how to use Zoom.
Right, exactly. And that's what I love too, is the evolution of your products is really being developed with these cloud solutions that act in concert with the Epiphan hardware.
Exactly.
And there is
it's
really
a both and, man.
excellent hardware solution for a lot of different things that our customers are looking to do. So let's run through that hardware a little bit and let's talk about the unique sales opportunities for each. Starting, of course, with the Pearl Nano. This is kind of the perfect fit encoder for any workflow, for any REMI production. It really allows you to create that production endpoint just about anywhere.
Anywhere. And you can manage it remotely. You don't worry about what's on site, by the way. I mean, think about this. How many times do you send something on site and the wrong thing shows up from the rental house, or somebody didn't understand, or they fudge something? It works with everything, any kind of endpoint. And I love that you celebrate that it's an encoder and it streams, but you know what people are using it a ton for?
What's that?
For doing pre-records.
Oh.
And they're doing pre-records on it because it can record an HEVC, which gives you a compressed file size, and it's much more manageable. So we're seeing a ton of these replacing keypros out there.
Oh, that's great.
And this is like a big space. It's a fraction of the price. It performs just as good. And by the way, it can be put in a standard UPS box and shipped anywhere at a flat rate.
Yeah.
Which, at the end of the day, sometimes that novelty actually matters because you're like, it's really easy to get this thing from point A to point B and get it around the country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You mentioned it being put in the UPS box. You could throw it in the back of your backpack and bring it in carry-on the flight to get to the next location and set up pretty easily. So it really is truly
Yeah, it's always
flexible.
hard to tell how big that device is, especially with the display
I
on it.
know.
But it's about the size of a little black leather book. It's tiny, and it really is. These are the types of things that people are basically they're standardizing on, and then they're scattering around campus or the corporate environment. They're sending to people's contributor kits. They're using these, and it's all of it managed back through the cloud. Makes it super easy on the production people because they don't have to go on site.
Sure.
And that's really important, by the way. I was talking to a really large major, I'm trying to think about how to describe this, major sports league in the US. And they were talking about how do I get high school sports to contribute to my network? And I said, send one of these. Better yet, send a Pearl Mini. Segue.
Perfect segue.
Here's why on the Mini, by the way, just to tell the story real quick. Send this to, I graduated from Valley High School in West Des Moines, Iowa. Send it to West Des Moines, Iowa. This bad boy ships in a little Pelican case, pop it upstairs in the audio booth, put 2 USB cameras in it, one facing the folks that are doing the game broadcast, one giving you a nice broad view of the field. Now you have 2 HDMI and an SDI. You can use those to get to a local camera that the network might rent. Put it on there, and now you plug your audio that they have into the XLR. And if they don't have a board, by the way, that's fine. You can plug a mic directly into it. The Pro Mini works with everything. All the layouts and the feeds and the branding, that's all pre-configured. So volunteers plug the device in, they turn it on, they make sure there's an internet cable plugged in the back, and next thing you know, it pulls out settings and away they go. Right. And you know what the beauty of this is? That major network can now use and manage it from their offices in New York. They never have to go to West Des Moines. They don't have to send people on site. They can rely on the technology that already exists there, blending that together with local resources that are always available in the markets. And this is just transformative to what it can do for companies.
Absolutely.
And the Mini's ability to kind of be that universal tool is really cool.
Absolutely. And I think one of the first big markets that we see really take love to the Pro Mini was the house of worship. Because that touchscreen makes it so easy to use, it can be set up very easily. Any volunteer resource can come in and handle that live production. When the volunteer resources get stuck, the IT guy who's available remotely, who set up the system, can now go in and continue the production and help them get past that starting point. So it really is a truly flexible system. Now you extend that out of house of worship into education, corporate AV, and all of these other environments. And that remote piece of the puzzle becomes even more important in these applications. You're not necessarily dealing with volunteer resources, but you're dealing with production systems that might be dispatched in several different locations that all have to be managed by one person in corporate HQ.
In some ways, what I've kind of been thinking about recently as I'm talking to these customers of all sizes, Epiphan just provides a really intelligent video layer to your organization. And intelligence really key, and I start, by the way, for the dealers out there, I start everything with Pearl Mini. I start everything with Pearl Mini because it's a standalone appliance with a nice touchscreen that can use it. It streams, it records, it takes HDMI, SDI, USB, NDI. Pick your favorite acronym of the week. This damn thing takes it. And we just recently added NDI, by the way. Unlike any other manufacturer in the AV or video world, we literally provide free updates to our devices that make them smarter as you own them. So if you've been looking at this device for a few years, you go, yeah, I've seen it. You haven't. I mean, we're doing it differently. We're just a different company, and I love it. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us. That's why we're doubling down.
Absolutely. And in one of the workflows you talked about before, you were talking about the Pearl 2. Before we go into the Pearl 2, I forgot we had a video case study that I wanted to share on the Pearl Mini. Yeah. We pulled down this case study. Can we roll that video, and then we'll come back and talk about that Pro 2 a little bit?
NC State decided that we must move forward with providing capture capacity to all classrooms. We needed to go from 50 classrooms for capture to more than 200, with hundreds of concurrent recordings taking place.
We did a really extensive evaluation process.
We went through a bunch of tests with a bunch of different hardware and landed on the Epiphan Pearl.
And Epiphan checked off pretty much every criteria that we were looking at.
It was critical Pearl be able to integrate into our existing AV infrastructure.
Epiphan Pearl is being used across campus as the primary classroom capture system. The front-facing side of it is Panopto, but Epiphan is that workhorse behind that solution.
We have the Epiphan Pearls deployed within classrooms, responsible for capturing classes, and also in some of our specialty spaces so that they can capture meetings, special events, live events.
There's no room for failure. And so that's how we've built our lecture capture system.
My favorite feature is that it works. We have 80% of our classes being captured, over 1,500 faculty using the service, and 4 million views for our first full year.
It's been a breeze, frankly. We've now gone through 2 full semesters of thousands of recordings.
Classroom experience for faculty and students is really seamless. From a student standpoint, and they have it instantaneously.
The faculty don't have to engage with it at all. It's automated so that it automatically starts, it automatically stops.
With the pandemic, with teaching all across the state, accommodating students with different disabilities, I couldn't do any of that without the technology.
Pearl has created a more dynamic learning environment.
And it's bigger than just classroom capture. It's integrating every single aspect of the classroom.
Implementing the Pearl has helped transform our digital experience and keep students engaged to help get them that core content and to record more classes and have more access available to them.
That's what gives me my passion, is to watch people grow. Give them the tools and let them do it.
Awesome video. Nick, I did not want to skip that case study because it's a perfect illustration of what we were talking about before. I am quite confident that project did not start out with them saying, we want to manage lecture capture from 300 classrooms. The 300...
No, I'm sure everybody walked into that avoiding that decision probably.
Exactly. That you only get to that 300 number by having the proof of concept and the proof of capability that your system is adeptly doing exactly what it was spec out to do. So great job to Epiphan and to the integrators involved at NC State. I mean, that's just an awesome win to get that kind of a system put together there.
Yeah, and it does start small. By the way, just to give everybody out there a sense of confidence, one of the things we're seeing is a lot of universities are buying one Pearl Mini to start that journey.
Right.
Why? They buy the Pearl Mini. They don't ask to borrow it. They buy it because it gives them a platform to test every camera against, to test every service provider against, to see how it integrates with Extron versus Crestron versus QSC. And it gives them this really flexible platform for them to build a lab. And once they build the lab, they can start to explore the art of possibility on campus. And that's how we start to grow. Then they start to get confidence. The cloud tools make it easy for me to manage this thing. It never goes down. We just keep going out and growing bigger and bigger. And so just, story tell a little bit for the folks out there that maybe have been reluctant. I'll also say about that NC State project, interestingly enough, at NAB, I rode in an elevator with another gentleman that wasn't featured, and he was actually with the live events team there. And he said, we actually started this whole thing with Epiphan with live events. We started because we started using your devices for that edge encoding we talked about in the Nano story. And that was the entry point for them beginning to learn about us. I'll also say about this campus is that in the bigger rooms, right, when you get into your really complicated spaces, the many steps aside, which is using the majority of spaces, and the Pearl 2 steps in as the star, because the Pearl 2 gives you so much expanded capabilities in an under $10,000 price point. That's incredible. And so there is a full kind of spectrum of devices that support that campus, but it's all managed back through the same cloud tools at scale, and it gives ease of mind to the humans that have to make it work every day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny because you talked about the power and the capability of the Pearl 2 at an under $10,000 price point. The Pearl 2 actually comes in at under $8,000. But the features and capability and power of this unit for $8,000 is an incredible value for really what you're getting out of that box.
6 NDI-HX inputs, which just became available. Again, you might have seen this box. This is how intelligent the Epiphan devices are. They grow over time. We don't need to send you new hardware. We just keep adding features based on this brilliant architecture that's been created. And by the way, that's a shout out to all the folks at Epiphan that work really hard up in Ottawa, Canada. We've got an incredible engineering team and development team, and they work their butts off every day to do really smart stuff like this. I get the pleasure of representing it. But this, again, world-class device for building a studio. It gives you that kind of full Monty, so to speak, of experiences with 4K, NDI, SDI, HDMI, and it can pump that signal back into the room, which provides that kind of augmented experience as well for students that are trying to participate, even without having video switching equipment in the space.
Absolutely. And I should mention for our dealers who are interested in Epiphan, the Pearl 2 is available in the desktop model like you see here, but it's also available in a rack mountable model also. So again, they've gone so far as to design the right hardware for the right installations, making sure that you can offer your customers the correct version for their project and where that unit is going to be installed and used. And of course, with that great hardware, you have support for all of the Epiphan cloud tools, Epiphan Connect, and just everything that we've talked about already with that additional capability. For those comparing the Pearl models, we do have this slide here that shows you what you get between the Nano, the Mini, and the Pearl 2. This slide is actually a lot less important than what Nick and I have been discussing all along. It's really finding that right box for what your customers are looking to do. And you will quickly find out that the right install is sometimes a combination of all of the above. It is not uncommon at all to have a Pearl 2 production system as your centralized production system in one location, and then dispatch the Pearl Nanos to remote contributors across the country. And that's where the
Or take that expensive board you've already invested in, that expensive studio that you've already invested in. When another favorite conversation in AB is somebody was taking a picture of an analog board across the booth from us. I said, well, what? He goes, oh, he's kind of giving my business partner loves this analog stuff. And I go, you know what? We can digitize it for you. For $2,000, you bolt a Nano on the end of that thing, and that's a digital powerhouse now. You can take, because again, all of this stuff works in concert together. We're trying to make it easy on the customers. That's why I think it's a good product line to kind of have as a lead discussion, because it tends to remove the customer's objections. Sure. And our devices are a gateway to all those other products, which is really important. So that's a little bit, I think, the swagger, I think, that happens with customers. You start to lead with Epiphan, they start to go, okay, this is a universal video platform that stitches it together under the cloud. Okay, tell me more. What other things do I attach to it? As a dealer, then you start to think about, okay, I got cameras here and soundboards there and this and that. And start to mix and match and really build these killer solutions. So big opportunity.
Absolutely. And we talked a lot about the Epiphan cloud tools. We talked about Epiphan Connect and allowing you to bring in your contributors for Teams and Zoom. Yep. What this really means for the dealer channel is a recurring revenue source. These cloud solutions, and knowing how much Epiphan believes in being a partner to the channel, there is a business model in place that allows our dealers to support their customers, not only with the Epiphan hardware, but with Epiphan cloud solutions, with Epiphan Connect, and allow you to benefit from recurring revenue models by getting these additional tools to your customers.
Yeah, and I'll say in every case of every product, we provide what we believe to be meaningful margin and a form that makes sense for dealers. And I'll leave it at that, because I just encourage you to reach out and learn more. And the last thing I'll also say too is, if you're not sure how to mix and match our portfolio of kind of 4 building blocks, don't stress out about that. Reach out to us. We're here. We have Drift, we have phone, we have all the different tools available, and we're always happy to hop on calls with customers as well and work together on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Broadfield has some resources here also. We have Glenn Seaman available. He is certified. He's used all this stuff. I usually have eval and demo equipment on the table available. The only reason I couldn't pick up the Pearl Nano and talk about it today is because it's out at one of our dealers who's using it and demoing it for a customer. So if you have an opportunity, we do have products available for you to put your hands on and play with. So reach out to your Broadfield sales team and check that out. Nick, before I let you go, I want to roll one other video, because I really, just to echo what we were talking about, everything in the corporate space, not only did you take Epiphan Connect and integrate it with Microsoft Teams, but you somehow got Microsoft Teams to give you a case study.
Yeah, I've been working with Microsoft for a long time. I've never been able to pull this off as a marketer, but it was, I think, a testament to what value we added for them. And let's let the story tell itself, because this is an opportunity for everybody out there, whether it's a cloud tool and you're leveraging a Teams room or a Mini or a Nano. These experiences are what we can create. And I think this is just an incredible kind of glimpse into what the future of video means for companies.
Awesome. Nick, I am going to let you go. I'm going to thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to end off with this case study from Microsoft. So stay tuned for another 2 minutes. Check out the video. You'll be happy you did. If you want links to any of the case studies we talked about today, you can reach out to me directly at jim@broadfield.com. If you have interest in any of the Epiphan products, if you want more information on the deal registration program, or you need the new Epiphan price sheets, reach out to your Broadfield sales team. We have all that available. We have all the tools you need to help you successful. If you need eval and demo equipment, I can help you out with that stuff as well. Nick, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to let our dealers in on that great NAB discussion.
It's an exciting time, Jim. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you at InfoCon.
Absolutely. We'll see you then. Cheers. Let's roll that clip.
Microsoft has always been a company that allowed you to work from anywhere and be your best from anywhere. And so video experience have been a game changer for us. As a leader of the business, you want to have a certain brand image, you want to be very professional and really showcase what we can do as a company.
There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that these events go off without a hitch. Epiphan Connect makes the broadcast and production experience much easier. It's a deep Teams integration that extracts the video and audio feeds from within a Teams meeting and pushes them to familiar live broadcasting tools. That means as a producer, you can focus more on the content that you're delivering. And for a participant, all you need to do is dial into a Teams meeting.
But it really was the Apollo moon landing that captured my imagination and made me start to dream about wanting to become an astronaut myself.
It really felt like you were watching a television show. It gave a little bit more production value. It really created that feel of something special, something better.
We've received nothing but positive feedback about Epiphan Connect. Our viewers are able to connect with our message, and we're able to deliver messages with confidence.
One of my colleagues turned to me and said that was the best virtual event that he has attended at Microsoft. He didn't have the context of what was happening behind the scenes. He just experienced an amazing event, which was pretty cool.
Broadfield Distributing is a value-added distributor of live production, streaming, video editing, and storage products. We only sell to resellers. We are always looking for new dealers, so call us at 1-800-634-5178 or email sales@broadfield.com. You'll like doing business with Broadfield because we make it easy to do business.